Hey everyone, Ethan here from Extreme RC 4x4, and today what I'm going to be doing is assembling the Terramight chassis kit. For those of you that have been following this since the beginning, you'll know it's been almost 2 years since I've started this project, and I'm ready to start selling it now. It's on the website, so I'm starting to put together some pictures and video so you guys know how to go about assembling this if you decide to purchase one. So first of all, I'm just going to go ahead and show you guys all the parts that are included with this. As you can see, the frame rails are both sides are the same, made of 1/8" aluminum. There's nothing threaded on here, so you don't have to worry about stripping any aluminum on these pieces because they would be the most costly to replace. One of the biggest improvements I've made, I think, over time has been this aluminum servo mount, which goes in the front of the frame. So this piece is also 1/8" aluminum that has been machined and then bent to fit. All the holes on this are threaded. So you have a servo mount, a servo winch mount, as well as the track bar or panhard bar mount on that, so you don't have to worry about breaking any 3D printed parts. This is the radio box lid. I have the transmission cross member, or skid plate you can say. It has nice rounded edges on it. And they're smooth because it's printed this way, so there's no supports, so nice, smooth, and it should be good for off-roading. This is built to use either an Element Enduro Stealth X transmission with the overdrive, or you can use an Axial AX10 transmission, or I think any transmission out of the SCX10 should work as long as it's the 3-gear style and not the kit transmission or that new fancy transmission out of the SCX10-3. I do have running boards that fit on the side of the frame, kind of as electronics trays. I have rear inner fenders that also serve as shock towers, and then the front inner fenders, which are shock towers as well as a battery tray of sorts. And then these two pieces are for the body mount. And then I have a bag of hardware for you guys here, which includes all the screws you need to complete the conversion. Basically, I should have explained this in the beginning, but for those of you that don't know, the Terramight chassis is designed to take CR12 axles, links, and shocks and put them on a frame which is a 2-inch longer wheelbase than the CR12, and it is built specifically for the Tamiya Clodbuster body, but it will also work with other bodies that are a smaller scale that are suited to the narrow axles that you get with the CR12. That's why I chose the CR12 axles for this frame, because they're nice and narrow. They look really good on the Clodbuster body. So in this hardware package, all of the hardware is included, like I said, but I also have some other things in here. This link goes from the stock CR12 axle to a standard 3.5mm screw, or not 3.5, sorry, 3mm screw for standard servo horns, and then on the axle it's a 2.5mm thread, which is the standard size for the CR12. So this is an important piece you probably won't be able to find anywhere else. The biggest pieces here are these body mount nuts, which have a standard stainless steel nut on the inside, not a lock nut. So these are used to attach the body instead of body pins, which I'll show you guys once we get this all attached. Hardware, 2 of these aluminum rod cross members that are also threaded, and then the track bar mount, which goes onto the axle. So I'm going to go ahead and get this hardware sorted here so I know what I'm working with. Alright guys, so I have all the hardware sorted now. It's pretty easy. It breaks down into a few common sizes. So the biggest group you're going to have is the 3 by 10 millimeter screws. You should have 18 of them unless your frame is already assembled. These small screws are 3 by 6s. There's 4 of them. There's 2 3 by 14s, 4 3 by 10s, but these are a flathead screw, so they will sit nice in the bottom of the skid plate. Then we have some 3 millimeter grub screws for the front body posts, and then we have 2.5 millimeter by 16 screws. There's 5 of those, and then 2.5 millimeter by 20 screws. There's 4 of those. 2.5 millimeter nuts, and then some 2.5 millimeter spacers. All this 2.5 millimeter hardware is used to attach the CR12 links to the frame. Everywhere else that I could, I used 3 millimeter screws because they're pretty standard. So just getting everything started, I guess. Start with the back of the frame. You can tell the rear inner fenders apart because they have a large indent in them, so that takes advantage of the additional space we have available to us in the rear because the tires don't need to turn. So if you decide to run a body like some of the small scale Pro line Blazer bodies, then it makes the interior look a little bit bigger. So attaching this, we'll use some 3 by 10 millimeter screws. I like to do one furthest to the back and one furthest to the front. You can also put it right there if you prefer that. And then we're going to put the screw furthest in the back of this into the hole furthest to the back on this adjustment on the top of the frame rail. Then in the rear is where we'll use our aluminum cross members or threaded rod. Just get that one started. Then we can tighten those both down. I guess we can just go along the frame. So on the skid plate where we have the big notch on it, that is the front side. And you can also see that on the passenger side, we're working on the passenger side of the frame right now, there's only 2 holes, while on the driver's side there's 3 holes. So you can run the skid plate either direction. On these side trays, the big lip goes towards the back, so that will go on here. We'll take 2 of these 18 millimeter screws and place them in this hole and this hole. That's for the links. This is also for the links, and then we don't use that hole on the passenger side of the frame, which we're working on now. Line it up with the holes on the frame. Then we'll take our skid plate, just get that started. The next part we're going to need is a front inner fender, another 3 by 10 millimeter screw, and then this is going to go right in the back hole. Align that with the hole on the frame, and then we're going to go through the frame to this receiver box. We can see there's one hole and it's indexed to fit on the frame right there so that it won't rotate. Just want to get that started, and then we'll grab 2 more 3x10mm screws to finish installing this inner fender with. Take our servo mount. You'll want the bends facing downwards. Sorry about that, guys. Have the bends facing downwards, and then get that started again. Put the second screw in. And then now we can tighten up the radio box. Alright, so that's one side complete, pretty easy. Take our other frame rail here. The other front inner fender, we can start with the furthest forward hole, another 3x10 screw, then through the frame rail, another 3x10, and another one. Alright, now we're back to this side tray, or electronics tray, whatever you'd like to call it. On the driver's side, which we're working on now, we will install it with 3 screws, all that go into the skid plate. Now we're back to the rear. Another 3x10 for both of these holes. Okay, so now we are going to take these 2 3x14s. They're in a pair. These are both going to go in the rear, and they're going to go through the bottom to the top of these holes right here on the rear inner fenders. You'll want to stop when the head of the screw gets to the surface of the 3D print. Just so you don't strip that out. And with that done, we will take 2. There should be 1 left over when you're done. I put 1 extra in. But we'll take 2 of those 3 that are left, and we're going to go from the bottom up, just like we did in the rear, through these holes that are on the top front of the front inner fenders. And then when you get through here, you're going to want to take these 3D printed spacers and thread that on. You probably want a pair of vice grips to hold them. Just get those tight. We'll do the same thing on the other side. Now that we have those tight, we will switch bits, and then we're going to take our two 3mm grub screws and then attach them to these spacers. I like to leave about 3/8 of an inch of thread above them, but you can go shorter or longer if you like. Now switch back to the big bit, and then we'll put this radio box cover on the radio box. If you want to see, guys, you can put wires into the radio box from the bottom. This is on the chassis side or on the top, so this would be like right behind your servo. And then these install with 3x6 screws. Okay, so now we're pretty much left at the point where you'll have to start installing your own parts. This is what comes with the kit. So the one 3x6mm screw you have left is going to attach this track bar to the axle. And how this works is on the CR12 axle there is some steering stops, which this hole goes around that steering stop, and then it attaches to one of the holes that is original to the axle. You'll take one of the front upper links off of the CR12 axle, and that is going to become your track bar, which you'll run from the track bar over here on the passenger side up to the driver's side on the chassis. That is your track bar mount right there. Steering link, pretty common sense how it attaches to the axle. Some people will ask about why I don't have a rod end on here. It's just because it's already on the CR12. All you have to do is unthread the original steering link and then thread this one into place, and then you can attach it to your servo. The rest of this 2.5mm hardware is used to attach your links to the frame. The lower link mounts are the furthest back hole in the rear, and then in the front you can see it right in front of the skid for the lower links, and then the upper links are located right here, as well as in the rear. You can see them right there. So this is just the frame assembly video, guys, but I will show you my truck, which is put together already in another video. This is just for people who are curious about how the frame goes together. Your standard Stealth X transmission will fit in here, and then the motor will sit offset this way a little bit. You can't run the spur gear cover. I don't think it will fit with the body. And then these 2.5mm spacers go between the frame and your lower links. The nuts are for attaching the lower links And then the upper links, the ball joints are actually threaded in them on the CR12. So use the shorter 2.5mm screws and just screw those on. I'll show you guys the screw-on body mount system. Sorry, this body is a little bit dirty. It's been hanging out in the shop for a while. So the body just drops on, and then all these threaded pieces over the rear inner fenders come down. Screw that nut on. You don't have to make them tight, you just don't want them rattling off on the trail. And I will most likely be offering some shorter body mount nuts to go on the front hood in the future, just because they are a little bit large and you do notice them, but this is the best system I've come up for mounting the body so far. I really can't make a body post with a pin through it strong enough at this point that it's worth me trying to do. I think people will just be breaking them too much. And then I also tried magnet mounts for a long time too, and it was really just not a very satisfactory system, and it didn't hold the body on the way I would like it to. So here you can see exactly how this is made for the Clodbuster. The width is about as wide as I can make it on these without hitting some of the parts of the cab. And the same thing with the front inner fenders as well as the rear inner fenders. I actually make a drop bed kit for this chassis and the Clodbuster body so that the body can have a drop bed that sits all the way down in the frame, which I'll show you guys in a later episode, or you can actually go back to some previous episodes and see when I installed it into my own truck. I have another one of these bodies. This is just my nice clean one for pictures. So I would like to show you guys how the battery sits in there. That's the only thing I don't think I've shown yet. So batteries will sit right here on these front inner fenders, which gives you a nice forward weight bias. Sits behind the transmission. It's probably about the only place I was able to mount the battery and still be able to have a drop bed in here and get the most forward weight bias that I could. Battery doesn't hit the electronics box. You can see how that's all designed to work together, and these wide holes are for Velcro straps, which go through the back side of the inner fenders and then holds your battery in place. So I will show you guys my truck in a later episode. I'm just trying to get this video done so I can get this all up on the website and complete. Like I said, I have been working on this for about 2 years, and I think I'm finally happy with it. I have a regular transmission in it, and most of these changes occurred within this last month or so, just because someone ordered a frame and I just wanted to make sure that I got everything set the way that I want it to be set before I really start selling these. So if this is something you're interested in, you have questions, please send me a message. I'm more than happy to help. CR12 guys, if you're looking to grow into a little bit bigger truck, I'm not going to say 10th scale because the Tamiya Clodbuster body is smaller than everything that is 10th scale now. You'll have to understand 10th scale is more of a marketing term than it is a true representation of the size of an RC vehicle anymore. So this will extend your wheelbase. The optimal tire size for this body with a little bit of trimming is around a 3.85 inch tire. So This is probably not going to be super competitive in Class 1, although I did compete in Class 1 with this frame last winter before the whole Corona shutdown, and it did really well, but I have a lot of driving experience with it too, so this is going to be more of like a Class 0 truck if you were to go that route, but good way to build from a CR12 up into a more capable truck, bigger tire size, jumping up to a true transmission with a 540 motor is a really good step for increased power and mostly torque. So that's what this is mostly built around, is upgrading a CR12. But if you are looking for the perfect chassis for Clodbuster body, you want to build scale with scale width axles, this is perfect for you. I do have a couple sets of CR12 axles. I'm going to start putting some frames together to sell as a complete kit in the next few months here. But anyways, guys, I appreciate you watching. I especially appreciate all you guys that have been following for the past 2 years and have kind of seen this thing come together. But anyways, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.